Bradford Northern. 2 points adrift kick-off, and as we suspected, Alan Bateman has in fact gone off, and Robert Turner, the back substitute for Warrington, is now on the field. No doubt he'll play in the centre position, I would imagine. That's Tony Burke, and no doubt Bradford will want to keep up this stint of tackling which they've shown us in the first half to keep Warrington at bay. But that's the first real break, in fact, from Tony Thornley. Still going. Tony Thornley loads the ball onto Robert Turner. Robert Turner surrounded, but it's going to be David Lyon. And that's the start that Warrington wanted to the second half. And that was a lovely break coming in there from Tony Thornley. Went all the way down the pitch, handed it on eventually to the substitute for his first touch of the ball. That in fact was Robert Turner. Seemed to me to be surrounded by Bradford players, but a long flat pass onto David Lyon coming in to make the extra man. And Warrington goes 6 points in front. And that was just the opening that Warrington needed in the second half, because, as we've said, there is a fairly strong wind here, and certainly what it is, I think Bradford Northern have it at the backs. So as kicks go, not perhaps too difficult. And certainly if he kicks it, Bradford will have to score twice, so it's an important kick for Warrington. And it's right in the middle. Warrington 8 points, Bradford Northern 0.
John?
So David Hobbs again. Well covered in fact by the knees from Kevin Ellis. And that's Gary Sanderson. And certainly not what Bradford Northern needed, but it's certainly a tonic for Warrington. Neil Harmon. Dwayne Mann, acting halfback. On to Bob Jackson. And it may well be that the Warrington coach, Brian Johnson, had words with the players at half-time and has said, let's open the ball, let's open the game out a little bit. Certainly we've proved that we can prize open the Bradford defence on the flanks, and that's what they've done. Dwayne Mann. On to David Lyon. Long raking kick coming in from Lyon. Goes into the box, and it's going to be taken by Roger Simpson, who really has had a very good first half. Certainly 2 try-saving tackles, one on Thornley, one on Lyon, have kept Bradford Northern in the game. And that's Henderson Gill. And it's Warrington's turn now to push the Bradford players back. David Croft. Puddles appearing on the pitch now as the rain does not abate. And that's John Pendlebury. Good break coming in from Pendlebury, still trying to unload the ball. It does do so. And eventually number 3 there, Darryl Shelford. And I think Pendlebury's the one that Warrington are going to have to watch. And also David Hobbs. Well taken by Thornley. To the centre of the field. And he goes straight through. Lovely break again by Thornley. Lovely break. On to Des Drummond. He's going to take it on his own, is he? A long pass on there to Gary Sanderson. And Warrington certainly have opened it up in the opening minutes of the second half. Chris Rodd. On to Ellis. Ellis this time onto Mercer. Long pass onto Mann. Back onto Mercer again. Mercer again onto Thornley, but difficult pass to take. Did well, fell over, but did well to take the ball. And Mercer again. Well, I think Bradford Northern have certainly done the homework on this man. Dwayne Mann, again onto Harmon. Bradford Northern in quickly, and that's the last tackle. Kevin Ellis. Shelford. The chip up in the air. Taken very well indeed there by Henderson Gill. And tackled very well indeed too by the Warrington number 6, Kelly Shelford. Roger Simpson. Hands on to McGowan. And Rudd's in there, and so is Tony Burke. And Warrington penning Bradford Northern back. And there's Tony Burke in again. Interference at the play of the ball, says the referee. That was Tony Burke, so that's a penalty to Bradford Northern. And it looks as if Steve McGowan is going to come off. And Bradford Northern substitute, probably Steve Barnett, I would imagine. And the referee waiting to see who's coming on. It looks to me it's Barnett. Good kick from Hobbs. Certainly a safe one. Goes into touch midway between the 25 and the halfway line. Brian Noble again, second phase. Onto Hobbs. Hell, shouts the referee. We can hear that quite clearly. Onto Hobbs again. And that's Paul Medley. Here's Pendlebury. A very, very slippery customer indeed. Reads the game very well. Has an eye for the opening, an eye for the gap. Well taken by Des Drummond. Very well taken indeed. And still going. Unloads the ball well onto Ellis. Ellis still going. A good tackle. Bob Jackson. Dwayne Mann. That's on to Kelly Shelford. Dwayne Mann. Onto Ellis again. Ellis doubles back. And that's Mercer. Crunching tackle coming in on Mercer from Brian Noble. Onto Mann. Shelford puts it into the box. Difficult one for Simpson to take, but he has no problems with it. And Chris Rudd takes him out just short of the 25-yard line. And Simpson has definitely been in the thick of things this afternoon. That's Henderson Gill. David Hobbs. Tackled very well indeed by Sanderson and by Harmon. And Bradford now attempting to spin the ball across. And a nice pass on here, a lovely inside pass on to Marchant, who drops the ball. Good movement there from Bradford Northern. It seemed to me as if Robert Turner was hanging back somewhat, and that really made the overlap. Nice inside pass, but couldn't be taken. Taken back by dropped by Tony Marchant as the Packs go down. You see that Turner is in fact in the stand-off position. On to Shelford. And possibly Turner expecting that ball back. Dwayne Mann, Gary Sanderson. And three Bradford Northern tacklers move in immediately to face him. Dwayne Mann again, Harmon. And Warrington finding it very difficult in the centre of the field, trying to punch holes in the centre. I don't think that's going to work. And certainly when they've opened play up a little bit and gone onto the flanks, they've found Bradford Northern wanting, but certainly not Roger Simpson. Bob Jackson. And that's the last tackle. What will happen here? Will it be one up in the air? Turner. A floated kick, taken well by Marchant. Shadowed there by Thornley, and a good tackle, although half a tackle coming in. He certainly stopped the momentum. Simpson takes it on his own. In fact, not Simpson, it's Marchant. John Pendlebury. Inside pass on there to Paul Medley. But Harmon's there. Pendlebury again. The Warrington players are in fact talking to each other. In fact, they forecast that Pendlebury will get the ball, but Simpson, centre of the field, a nice break from Simpson, but there's Kevin Ellis, a little bit of an ankle tap, and Dwayne Mann's in there to assist. It's a kick by Anderson. That's going to be a good one. That's going to go into touch and puts Warrington back inside their own 25. A little bit more urgency from the Bradford Northern 13 at the moment. And Warrington back inside the 25. And we could hear quite clearly there as the ball was being passed around amongst the Bradford ranks that Warrington was shouting, Pendlebury, watch Pendlebury, because he's the one who, if anybody will open them up, it will be him. And Paul Gratian coming on, and it looks as if David Croft is going off. Of course, the son of Jeff Gratian. The Packs really twist round, but Warrington have the ball. That's Kevin Ellis. Still some interference, I think, at the play of the ball. Rather too much for my liking. That's Bob Jackson. Good play from Bob Jackson. Nice little 10-yard break. Neil Harmon. And Pendlebury's in there, and so is Carl Fairbank. Copybook tackle from top and tail from Pendlebury and Fairbank. David Lyon trying to put the pressure back on Bradford. Roger Simpson again. That's Tony Burke and Chris Rudd. This time it's Henderson Gill. Going nowhere. And there's this man Gratian. Tackled immediately. Big player. Brian Noble. Ball's gone loose. Warrington regained possession. Bradford Northern still have the ball. Dwayne Mann limping around. Paul Medley can't quite get out the clutches of his opposite number. David Hobbs. That's a good kick. Touch in goal. Did it touch a Warrington player? Obviously not. Certainly the Bradford Northern contingent thought it did. But see Dwayne Mann down in front of us here, who has some kind of a leg injury, a calf injury, I would imagine, being attended to by Warrington physio. And Warrington will certainly need him in the second half. And Basil Richards warming up. Bob Jackson. Gary Sanderson, centre of the field. Runs into Carl Fairbank. Mercer. Another good tackle coming in on Mercer from Gary Pendlebury. Tony Burt this time at acting halfback. And the referee's obviously going to stop the play for this injury to Dwayne Mann. This is some kind of a knee injury. His knee manipulated at the moment. As he gets up, let's see whether he can walk properly. A little bit better, but still walking around fairly gingerly. And a sympathetic round of applause. Des Drummond. Oh, terrible pass, really, from Des Drummond, taken, in fact, which hit the boot of David Lyon, so that really puts Warrington under pressure. Really an unforced error. They could do without that. Bradford Northern only too pleased they've got the ball back inside the Warrington half of the field. Here's Gratian again. Superb tackling coming in on Gratian, and that really was Gary Sanderson, ably assisted there by Bob Jackson. On to Pendlebury again. And here's a break coming in this time from Paul Medley, but still going Paul Medley. He's going to have to be pushed into touch, and it's handed on eventually to Mark Hunt, who scores. A good try about 15 yards in from touch, and that try was really made, I think, by Paul Medley, proving very difficult to tackle. And Bradford Northern are on the scoreboard. Warrington 8 points, Bradford Northern 4. As we predicted, Dwayne Mann will come off, and it's going to be Basil Richards, who made quite an impact when he came on against Swinton last week. Only on for about 10 minutes, but certainly opened up the Swinton defence. And for the Warrington supporters watching this video, let's hope he opens up the Bradford defence too. And he's going into the centre position, I think, or is he going on the wing? No, it looks to me as if Thornley's gone into the centre position and Richards has gone on the wing. The Warrington tackling not as good as it might be, but it certainly was then. The players appear to be bunching a little bit. We're having a little discussion about this. Bradford appear to be opening up Warrington on the left-hand side of the field. Players appear to be bunching. That's David Hobbs. He's going to try and keep the pressure on Warrington. And that's a long kick that certainly David Lyon will have to play, I think. Yes, he will. But Lyon does well. Kevin Ellis at acting halfback. Here's Basil Richards. It was Anderson. And it looks to me as if Kelly Shelford will go in the acting half-back position. In fact, there's nobody there. And really, again, that's an error that should not be made, and the Warrington coaching staff will not be happy with that. Warrington putting themselves under pressure at the moment. That's Gratian. And taken out by Richards and by the Warrington skipper there, Bob Jackson. But really a schoolboy error, you might say. Nobody waiting behind the player, they play the ball. And I would imagine that Kelly Shelford will do that job. John Pendlebury. Pendlebury looking for the gap, but Warrington are there. They tackle him with the ball and make sure the ball can't be released. But Bradford Northern deep inside Warrington territory now. Fairbank. Bradford Northern's turn this time to make an unforced error, but there again, the conditions are rather treacherous, and I think the ball is difficult to handle. So that's Kevin Ellis. Put to ground. This time it's Gary Sanderson at dummy half. And can't get away at all. Mercer. Warrington are trying quite a number of acting half-backs, but the Bradford Northern tails are up. The team spirit is there for all to see, and certainly Peter Fox has toughened them up somewhat since he took over. Warrington losing the ball again. Robert Turner finding it very difficult to get outside the 25. Des Drummond, Warrington lose possession again, and Bradford have an overlap here. Gary Pendlebury straightening up, trying to get the ball away. He does do so. And that's on to, but that, surely the ball has gone forward, and the referee will say yes, that's a knock-on. But Warrington was certainly open there on their right, on the Bradford Northern left, and I think they can count themselves lucky that they didn't have a try scored against them then. And this time it's Des Drummond who's hurt. He also gets up very gingerly. Warrington have used both subs. And it looks to me as if there's a Bradford Northern player down also, down on the far side of the field, or is it a Warrington player as well? It is in fact a Warrington player, and it looks to me like Gary Mercer. No, it's not, it's Kevin Ellis in fact. There's Drummond runs gingerly across, so the injuries are coming in, and Warrington really have had one or two injuries this year, but by no means as many as Wigan have had, and that's a penalty to Bradford Northern for offside. Certainly Kevin Ellis didn't retire at the scrum. So Warrington have still got it all to do. With about 16, 17 minutes gone in the second half. Henderson Gill. Warrington trying to push him back, trying to make sure he doesn't make ground at all. Ryan Noble at acting half-back. It's on to Gratian, but the Warrington players are in there. It's on to Pendlebury. Doesn't unload the ball, but Warrington certainly again were opened up here on the left. David Hobbs. Hobbs going on his own. That's certainly 4 tackles, and Warrington are going to have to move in very, very quickly indeed to keep Bradford out. Spinning the ball out left. That's on to number 14, Barnett. But Warrington's line holding. Pendlebury again. Very well taken by Paul Medley. He can't quite escape the tackle. The ball has gone loose. The ball has gone loose. What will be the decision here? Knock on, would it? No, a penalty in fact to Bradford Northern. The referee looks towards the touch judge, finds out what happens. I would have said the ball was certainly lost as the Bradford player was attempting to get up, but the referee working in concert with his touch judge, and that's a penalty to Bradford, and if David Hobbs can kick this, it will reduce the arrears to only 2 points. So David Hobbs lines the ball up with the posts. And again, not a difficult kick at all. One would expect David Hobbs to kick these over in his dreams, really. Or even backheel them over from there. But he's kicked it. Warrington 8 points, Bradford Northern 6. So the final quarter of the game, as we move into it, it's going to be all action stuff, I think, here at Witherspoon. Dwayne Mann comes on again. Basil Rich is coming off. Turner. It's a Paul Medley again. It's on to Gratian, but the Warrington forwards move in. They think they should be further in the lead, and they're going to try and make sure that Bradford Northern stay in the 25. On to Pendlebury, but the Warrington pack are in very, very quickly indeed. As we can see here, Tony Thornley hanging back for the kick, but that certainly does open Warrington up on the left-hand side of the field, and David Hobbs. A long pass on to Barnett, but well tackled. Still moving forward, surely the referee shall shout hell, so there's going to be a kick here. Long kick, and it's a good one too. Very good kick indeed. And interesting there that Bradford Northern players were moving in front of David Hobbs. Certainly not illegal in this game, but I would say it's rather ungentlemanly to do so. As the pack go down. One against the head, Bradford Northern win it, and it's in the hands of Pendlebury. Well, this game certainly is not over yet. And Henderson Gill so often tends to run across the field, and he did do so then. On to Barnett. Good tackle coming in on Barnett, but number 6 for Bradford, Tony Anderson, in attendance there. Dances in, but just tackles short of the post. So Bradford spinning it out to the right-hand side. It's on to Pendlebury again. The ball eventually onto number 3, Shelford, but he's going to go into touch, is he? Yes, he is. The touch judge, in fact, puts his flag up now. And I would think that's fair enough, because the tackle certainly wasn't effected as he was pushed into touch. And Paul Medley is certainly causing Warrington all kinds of problems here on the Warrington left flank on the Bradford Northern right wing. And it may well be because Thornley's hanging back somewhat for the kick. And here's Thornley again with the ball in his hands. Very difficult to stop. Kevin Ellis again. On to Sanderson, but the pack moving in very quickly and trying to pen Warrington inside the 25. Harmon can't make any ground at all. Dwayne Mann, this time it's Mercer. But really in the centre of the field, Warrington have made virtually no ground whatsoever, and I think Mercer's hurt. And Warrington have had a number of injuries in this game, and the physio coming on to have a look at Mercer. I don't know exactly what that was, but it's some kind of a head injury. And certainly the Bradford Northern player, it was number 12 there, Carl Fairbank, immediately said to the referee, I think he's hurt, we'd better get a physio on. And I don't think there was anything wrong with the tackle. It was a perfectly fair tackle to me, but it was obviously hard. But Mercer in some distress at the moment. He's going to get up now, very slowly. No problem now. Mercer plays the ball. On to Dwayne Mann. Well, the stereotype from Warrington. Mercer, a little kick ahead. Taken by Henderson Gill. And the rain really bucketing here down out Wilderspool. And that's Gratian, gets the ball on well. Was it a forward pass? Certainly the crowd thought it was. And Turner comes in but misses the tackle, and it's Medley again. Certainly caused Warrington all kinds of problems in the second half. That's Anderson. On to Hobbs. A long pass, but the ball really goes nowhere. Eventually ends up in the hands of Henderson Gill, who's still going. Good tackle coming in from Drummond. Pendlebury. On to Neil Summers, I think, is it? No, Hobbs, one up in the air. It's a good one too. A very good kick too. And it goes dead. Certainly Lyon appeared to miss that somewhat in the floodlights or whatever it was. The wind was blowing it backwards. It went over his head. But fortunately for Warrington, unfortunately for Bradford Northern, bounced over the try line. So that's a tap out here. It's going to be Neil Harmon, first man in. But to me, the feature of the game has been the Bradford tackling in the centre of the field. The Bradford forwards, I think, generally have outplayed Warrington. They've kicked well too. And only when Warrington have used the flanks have they made any inroads into the Bradford defence at all. And that's a good kick from Dwayne Mann, but it's not going to go into touch. In fact, Simpson will take it just 10 yards from the try line, moves out. Simpson's still going, but there's the kick of Dwayne Mann in attendance. The Warrington fans attempting to get behind the team here at Wilderspool as the rain comes down stronger and stronger and stronger. It can't be easy out there. There's Pendlebury again. Good tackling coming in there from Gary Sanderson. And here's Gratian. Gratian being pushed back there by Kelly Shelford, probably twice his size. That's the last tackle. We're looking for David Hobbs. Where is he? Here's the kick from David Hobbs. It's a good one too. It's going to go into the box, but no danger of it going into touch. And it's on to David Lyon. David Lyon on his own, and there's Marchant in with Darryl Shelford. Kevin Ellis attempting to go on his own. Does do so. And here's Kelly Shelford, an acting halfback, onto Tony Burke. But Bradford really moving in very, very quickly. They're on the march at the play of the ball, without a doubt. Dwayne Mann, Bob Jackson. That's the third tackle. With about probably 10 minutes to go here at Wilderspool, perhaps slightly less. Shelford, kick into space, going to be taken by Turner. Turner hands it on immediately to Ellis, and that's going to be Rudd who scored in the corner surely. And a superb try from Warrington in the corner. A nice little kick ahead. In fact, it was made by Kelly Shelford. A lovely judge kick, beautifully weighted, that was taken eventually, very difficult thing to do too, by Robert Turner. Hands the ball on, and eventually we find it's Chris Rudd who scores in the corner. And as we said on a number of occasions, when Warrington attempt to throw the ball around, open it up on the flanks, they've opened up the defence. David Hobbs. Well taken by Ellis. On to Des Drummond. Not seen really too much of him. Dwayne Mann. Tony Burke. The Warrington forwards have made very, very little ground this afternoon. And they've lost possession. I would imagine an offside decision there. Lyon certainly picked the ball up. That'll be a penalty to Bradford, so what are they going to do with the ball? It may well be they'll attempt to take a kick at goal. In fact, that's what they're going to do. I think they're shouting for the sand to come on. They think there's time enough left to score a try and get their noses in front. So is this the right decision? Perhaps that's a daft question to ask, because that's the decision that's been taken, and it's going to be David Hobbs. Just on the 25-yard line, just to the right of the post, I would think, so it's not a difficult kick for a man of his standing. And he's kicked many more, much more difficult than this. And he's kicked it, so that's Warrington 12, Bradford 8, so Bradford now only 4 points adrift. Billy game today, he's on the gantry with us, and he tells me he's quite enjoying it. So Bradford Northern in possession inside the 25. They're going to have to break very quickly and get inside the Warrington half of the field if they're going to go back over the Pennines with 2 points. And that's Gratian, and Gratian throws the ball up in the air. Thank you very much, says Kevin Ellis. Into the arms of Dwayne Mann, immediately onto Kevin Ellis. So it's Warrington's turn to put the pressure on Bradford Northern. And that's Bob Jackson who breaks the 25-yard line. It was certainly a rather exciting second half here at Wilderspool. And that's number 10, Harmon, who's still going. Goes into Simpson, going towards the try line and just pulled down short. That really did deserve a try. And Warrington now encamped inside Bradford Northern's 25. Bradford Northern will have to move in very quickly indeed. It's going to be a drop goal attempt by Mann, but the ball goes dead. It touches, in fact, a Bradford player, so that will be a kick out from between the posts. So that relieves the pressure somewhat for Warrington. Warrington 12 points, Bradford Northern 8, with, I would imagine, less than 5 minutes to go, and a knock on from Ellis. Really the only mistake probably Kevin Ellis has made all afternoon, and what a time to make it, but never mind. As Harmon goes towards him, puts his arm around and says it doesn't matter, and neither does it really. It's only a game when all's said and done. So Neil Summers to put the ball in, out immediately on the Bradford side, and again Warrington looked fairly open on the left-hand side here, but the tackling comes in very quickly, and that was Kelly Shelford, and there's nobody played better than Kelly Shelford this afternoon. And Bradford Northern deep inside the territory need to get down very quickly. John Pendlebury coming forward, but Warrington certainly have shadowed him in the second half, and I don't think he's unloaded any of his deft passes that we so often see from him and have seen for a long time, for a number of years. Warrington still in possession. It really must be difficult out there at the moment. We can see huge puddles on the pitch now. Kick from David Hobbs, good 1-2 going in the box. Bounces past Lyon, but Lyon surely will pick it up safely, and he does do so. Shows the ball to Thornley, but Marchant's alive to that. And Warrington certainly will have to keep hold of this ball here inside the 25. Thornley again. Had a marvellous game. Certainly probably, to me, the pick of the Warrington players this afternoon. Dwayne Mann onto Bob Jackson. Bob Jackson coming in at speed. Dwayne Mann again, acting halfback. Warrington making a certain amount of ground, but not too much. Onto Kelly Shelford, another kick ahead, rather like the previous one, and who's going to go for this one? It's going to be Henderson Gill, and he slides there 10 yards on his backside, but takes the ball safely for Bradford. Roger Simpson, again, had a marvellous game for Bradford Northern this afternoon. The ball's gone loose, and that's going to be a penalty to Bradford. Again, I think the ball came loose purely and simply because of the momentum of the tackle, but the referee doesn't agree with that, and that's a penalty to Bradford Northern. The Warrington fans don't like it. And a good kick from David Hobbs. Only a few minutes to go here on our watch, I think, and Bradford Northern think that they're going to win it. Unloads the ball very well indeed. It's onto Hobbs, onto Pendlebury, but the ball goes behind Marchant, and that's Tony Thornley in very, very quickly. Neil Summers trying to get away, but Rocky Turner's in there. Shelford onto Anderson, knock on. Referee surely will wave play on. That's advantage, and it is. Good decision by the referee. Onto Bob Jackson. Really, I think Bob Jackson should have opened it out a little bit there, but didn't do so. Dwayne Mann, and that's Tony Burke. A wholehearted player he is. Dwayne Mann again. This will surely go to Harmon, and it does do so. But Harmon now being pushed back in the tackle. And I think we'll hear the hooter fairly shortly. Kevin Ellis attempts to go on his own. That must be the fourth tackle. Dwayne Mann. Warrington decide what they hold, what they have, they hold. They're going to stay down here, but that's the last tackle. One up in the air from Lyon. Good 1-2. Certainly taken by Bradford, yes. It's difficult to see under these floodlights at the moment who the players are, but certainly Bradford Northern in possession. And that's Gratian coming away, but Warrington have shadowed him very well indeed since he's come on. A very difficult player to put to ground. Was that a knock-on? Well, you can judge probably if you have a video. You're watching this on a video recorder, you can replay that and see whether it was. But Bradford Northern now spinning the ball out. But the Warrington defence is there. The form of Shelford. Simpson. Lyon plays it with his feet. Well done too. Lyon makes a half break and still going. Tackled very well indeed by his opposite number. Tony Thornley. Pushed back in the tackle. And the conditions really are quite dreadful here at Wilderspool. That's on to Mercer. Mercer onto Rod. Rod doubles back, but good tackle coming in on him. And it's going to be Des Drummond at acting half-back. Onto Turner. Good kick by Turner. Marchant going towards it, and well taken indeed eventually by Roger Simpson. Finding it very difficult to change direction because it's quite treacherous underfoot. Does well to keep his feet. And that's Summers this time. Onto Medley, but this time Warrington are equal to that task, and Medley really has punched huge holes in the defence on this Warrington left flank this afternoon. And it was a break he made that resulted in the Bradford Northern try. We must surely be into injury time now, but that's a knock-on. As the Bradford Northern players look at the touch judge, who keeps his own counsel. David Lyon has taken the Man of the Match award, and I think difficult decision I think today. I certainly would have thought Tony Thornley would have been in the running for that, and he may well have been. So Packs go down. Ball out on the Warrington side. Long spin pass from Ellis onto Turner. It's on to Shelford. Shelford decides to take the defence on his own. David Lyon, the Man of the Match winner, acting half-back. And that's on to Gary Sanderson, who's done a lot of work in the Warrington pack this afternoon. He gets up rather gingerly as he hurt in that tackle. Possibly some kind of a shoulder injury, but David Lyon decides to take the ball on his own and goes down the centre of the field. Again, Neil Harmon, but Bradford defence equal to it. And Tony Thornley shouting 5. I don't know what's going to happen. It's going to be a kick. It may well be. Oof, and that's Bradford Northern player loses the ball, regains possession. That surely will be a knock-on again. As the Packs form again. They certainly will deserve the bath after the game. It's on to Turner, on to Thornley again. Thornley taking on the defence. Goes in very quickly, very well indeed. Eventually pushed down by Simpson. That's going to be Shelford. Shelford going on his own. Bradford equal to it. On to Ellis, on to Burke. That's certainly the third tackle. Well into injury time here at Wilderspool. Ellis again. Long pass on to Turner. Turner decides to go on his own this time. And that's the fourth tackle, I think. Gary Mercer. Gary Mercer straightens up. That's the last tackle. Warrington 2 yards short. What's going to happen now? Long pass on to Ellis. But Bradford Northern regain possession. And are we going to see an 80-yard try to seal the game for Bradford Northern, or are Warrington going to stay in command? But the Warrington defence certainly stiffened up somewhat in the past 10 minutes. And a fair amount of injury time being played, I think, here at Wilderspool. As Gratian comes in and the Warrington forwards meet him. And there's the final hooter, so a game that was down in parts, fairly open too in parts. Warrington get 2 points for their Stones Bitter campaign, and Bradford Northern, who have Peter Fox back as the coach, put in a good performance here at Wilderspool. Certainly I thought the Bradford Northern forwards played particularly well, and possibly in the backs Roger Simpson was the pick of the players, but the tackling down the centre of the field was hard, it was rough, it was tough, but I think for the most part it was fair. And Warrington certainly tried to take them on down the centre of the field, found it very difficult all the way through the game. And as we said so many times, when they opened Bradford on the flanks, the tries came, only 2 of them for Warrington. Bradford Northern will be pleased with that. But certainly it looks to me as if the team spirit is back there at Odsall Stadium. And I think Peter Fox has done wonders in the past couple of weeks for them. and I would imagine that Bradford Northern eventually will start to climb the table and get to the position that the play this afternoon certainly warrants. We hope you've enjoyed the